That's quoted as saying on the front page of the Daily Express. £16 million payouts to gas bosses as we freeze. 5 bosses at the owners of British Gas have shared £16.4 million as families face soaring bills, says the Daily Express. We've got them eventually. There we are. That's the one. OK, we're joined now by, as Ramya said, by former Home Secretary Jackie Smith and political consultant Ollie Kendall. About to kick off with Abu Qatada. Jackie, you heard what Peter Bowen had to say. What's your response?
Well, I share Peter's wish for Abu Qatada to be extradited. I signed his extradition papers when I was Home Secretary. But I'm afraid Peter is just wrong about the facts here. This was actually a case that was heard in the appeal court in the UK. It was an appeal that the Home Secretary had taken from another decision from a British, effectively, court, the Special Immigration Appeals Court. So I'm afraid Peter is wrong to say that in this particular case, if this was the European Court. But frankly, my view is, even if we had in some way or another pulled out of the European Convention, I don't believe that in the UK we wouldn't have put into a British law something about not wanting to have anything to do with torture or allowing people to be tried on the basis of evidence used by torture. So I want this guy, who undoubtedly is very dangerous, to be deported. But what I also want, and what I think any Home Secretary should want, is that we abide by the rules of the law, because that's what makes us different.
And Qatada, what have you got?
A positive story, actually, this one, isn't it?
It could be. It sounds incredibly encouraging. An unprecedentedly global scientific survey of our DNA makeup, the genetic markers they're called, has found that we could potentially have, within 5 years, this blood or saliva test which would tell us whether we are at high risk because of our genetic markers for prostate cancer, for ovarian and breast cancer, which are 3 of the biggest cancer killers.
So it's like a £5 saliva swab kit, isn't it?
It's the sort of thing you could walk into GP centre and you could potentially have a test that would take 5 minutes, and you would know almost instantly, your GP could tell you whether you are at high risk of particular cancer, and then you can have preventative treatment to cure it. Now, this is something that the papers are suggesting might be introduced in 5 years' time. We don't know, but it's obviously...
We hear a lot of health skills, but this one seems more sort of,
Let's hope it's right. Jackie?
I'm slightly more depressing again, I'm afraid. Talking about this cyber attack.
Yes.
I haven't noticed the internet.
Everyone's saying that this morning, aren't they? Apparently it's the biggest cyber attack ever or something.
It is.
You're not spending enough time on YouTube and Netflix, clearly.
You're right.
You're working too hard.
It might slow down the internet,
It might, that's the story. It's 2 individual companies, actually. One which is an organisation that tries to prevent us getting spam. I'm on their site. And another that hosts websites. And the one that hosts websites has actually attacked the one that's trying to prevent spam. And it's done it by sort of bombarding it with messages. And basically the analogy is, if you were to send somebody loads and loads of letters, it wouldn't just affect them. In the end, it would slow the delivery, the whole delivery down, and that's what they fear is happening.
And they say it could affect our personal banking. I mean, we're talking about films at the moment, but if it continues...
I think they say it could slow it down rather than necessarily interrogate or hack it.
We have to end on the story that will be music to the ears of Jackie.
I have to say, this is a story about how women are more effective in the boardroom. And when Jackie and I were looking at the stories earlier on, Jackie said, that's not news.
Yes, you knew that a long time ago.
I think I've seen a few studies of this recently, but essentially it's saying that women are more effective in the boardroom because they consult, because they talk to their colleagues and they make collegiate decisions.
Whereas men thump
their chest and sort of...
Quite. There are not enough of them. And, arguably, perhaps the time is now ripe for quotas, because it would be good for the boardroom, good for women, and more importantly, good for the economy as a whole.
You support that, would you? You force companies
to what I tend to think is you can wait long enough for change to happen. If it isn't happening, you need to do something to make sure it does.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, boss.